We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you on Twitter?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, so we've got some clickbait tonight. It seems like he's made some comments about the payroll and Springer, Brantley, and there's some interesting outfield free agents out there. Also, the Astros did lose somebody in the Rule 5 draft. It was the guy that we spent the most time talking about because he throws 100 miles per hour, but he has no control. So we'll talk about that in a second. There's so much to talk about tonight's Locked On Astros podcast. And remember, you can get Locked On Astros on the podcast app Himalaya, as well as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. When you get in car, tell your smart device to play the podcast Locked On Astros. All right, so let's get started with not goodbye. We'll see you next year to a certain Astros minor leaguer who is now with who do you get drafted by? Jose.
Oh, shoot, you would ask me that, and I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I don't know who picked him up in the Rule 5 draft. Dude,
Okay,
I'm
here
helping
it
kids
is.
get
The
ready
Angels
for the finals.
did. Okay.
Thank you.
The Angels did. Okay, so
remember.
he throws 100 miles per hour. This is Jose Alberto Rivera. This is the kid we talked about yesterday. He's the one that when I was looking at stats, I'm like, oh, he has a 70 fastball, but his 45 and control, and that's not typically a good recipe in the big leagues. So the reason why I say this is not goodbye, this is see you some point next year. I think he's going to be returned. He's one of those high risk. You pay what the 100,000 for, and then also if it doesn't work out, you give him back to the Astros for 50K. And so it's if it works out, it works out. But we've seen this before. We've seen some Astros pitchers come and go. I believe that David Rollins was one of them. He went and then came back, and Raymond Gudon was one of those as well. And there's been a few players that were claimed by another team but then returned. That's something that happens all the time. But I know a lot of people are upset about this, but at the same time, there's a reason why he's still in low A ball. It's his command. He's got to figure out how to pitch, and he's not going to be able to pitch in the big leagues if he can't harness that control. Ask Raymond Gudwan about that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You don't want to put too much stock in this. I mean, I just read 5 names of guys that have been somewhat successful in the Rule 5 selection since 1990. We're in 2020. That's a long time. So to have 5 out of 30, that's 30 years, he's a high velocity guy, and that's how he's labeled. But he's not a high velocity guy who the Astros feel is going to give them what they need right now, because they have, I think, enough maybe in that area, and they're not really into velo. I mean, I say they're not into velocity. They're more into spin rate, but I think if he held any value, obviously you're protecting him, right? But they let 4 others go. Do we know if JJ Machednik got picked up or the other guys that they had out there?
No, we'll talk about that in a second. I wanted
Okay.
to. We got a lot of clickbait tonight. This whole show should be
Okay.
titled "Clickbait," but basically, this is what he had to say on Rivera. He said, "We spent a lot of time talking to some staff personnel here about that, and ultimately, we felt like we had to roll the dice. We thought there was a good chance that he would be taken because of the stuff and the velocity, but we had to balance that against the fact that, we have a good chance to get him back based on the Rule 5 rules. And basically, he has to stay on the 26-man roster for the full season. And I know typically you can put him in at the back end of the rotation. I mean, not the rotation, but the bullpen. But can you imagine the Astros coming in and facing this guy who has no control and he throws a 100-mile-per-hour fastball? What's going to happen? Alex Bregman's going to hit it into the bleachers. So he's going to have to really refine some stuff. But basically, I'm not too worried about this. This is a guy I think that's going to end up coming back. I could be wrong. This could be the next Johan Santana. Santana. I can't talk tonight for some reason, but who knows? So the Astros did lose two players in the minor league draft, and that was Drew Ferguson and Robertson. What's his name? Where did I put it? Chucky Robinson. He's a catcher. So
Right.
Chucky Robinson was on Locked On Talking Stros one time, I believe, or something. But um, so Drew Ferguson was drafted or selected in the major league draft a few years ago, but he was returned. And so this is now he's being selected in the minor league part of the draft. So that shows that his stock has fallen a little bit. And Chucky Robinson, he's a good defensive catcher, but a lot of people had some questions about his offense.
Yeah, these are guys that, like you said, I think it's low risk, low reward. I don't think there's any high risk here. I don't think you're risking um, giving away any perennial all stars. To be honest with you, like apparently from what Click's saying, and I hadn't seen or heard that comment, so I didn't realize that they were kind of hoping. I guess it sounds like they're hoping that Rivera comes back to them,
It's a
thinking that
gamble.
they,
Either way, it's a gamble. Either they stick or they don't. And so if they
yeah,
don't, you're like, oh, come back home, come back to
yeah.
Texas.
Well, and that's the thing. You do hope, just for the sake of these guys trying to make a living, you do hope that they have some success
Right.
because, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, you want to see any guy out there that makes it to the big leagues make it, not just make the roster, but make it and have longevity. So, best of luck to those guys. Eric, oh, go ahead.
So what about if you want to put your records on? And we have an actual baseball player named Joe Record now. The Astros did make two minor league selections, and one of his this guy's name is Joe Record. That is a awesome name. He had a four and
Or
four
is it,
record and a 5.07 ERA with 8 saves and 68 strikeouts and 55 innings pitched in 2019. And they also, I don't have his first name. Oh, Seth Martinez. And so Seth Martinez is 26 years old. He last pitched in 2019 between Class A and Double A with a 7.4 record, a 2.51 ERA, and 42 relief appearances. What do you notice about both these guys? They're both relievers. So the Astros are hoping that if they keep these guys up in the Triple A roster all year and they're able to keep them, this is somebody that could maybe help the Astros in the future in the bullpen, which is one of the weak links on this team outside of the outfield at the moment.
so wait, did you lead in with this? Like, was that a, was that a song you were quoting?
Yes, it's
I know what it is.
it's
I'm
Mick
just giving you a hard time.
Rodney or something, or some guy brought that song back, and so
Okay.
it's on the
I'm just
radio
giving you.
now. But
I know.
I was gonna say that, or I'm going on the record and saying that the Astros have a new minor leaguer.
There
So
you go.
I could have
You're
gone with that. So
you're all about the puns. No, maybe it's record. Maybe he goes by record. It's kind of like there was a student that a friend of mine said that they had years ago, and her name was spelled tyranny, and her name was tyranny, but it was spelled tyranny. He teaches U.S. history, so he was like tyranny, and she's like, no, it's tyranny, and
all right,
maybe it's record.
all right, brats. So when you're at school,
Whoa,
at
dude,
that's not how you say Brit. Oh, sorry,
that's a low, dude. You're talking about the fourth grade, man. I'm gonna get up. So you have to fight
oh, we're just
the
talking about
college.
how the name sounds
I'm
different.
giving you a hard
I
time.
know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's just say that somebody made fun of your name or something, and you just wanted to eat something. Should you just go raid your Halloween candy, or is there something a little bit healthier you can choose?
Yeah, you would probably get a Built Bar right before you smash their face in. You eat a Built Bar because it will give you the energy you need. It doesn't have a ton of calories, so whatever energy you burn doing that, getting back at them, will be packed in that Built Bar with 17 grams of protein to give you the strength. It only has 4 carbs, so you better have had a carb before that, or you'll pass out because you go on like like low blood sugar. So get a Built Bar. It is the perfect candy bar slash protein bar. And I say candy bar first because when you eat it, you don't think you're eating a protein bar. It doesn't taste like some protein shake thrown into a chocolate form. It is awesome. They have new holiday flavors, not all of them mixed with white chocolate, salted caramel, white chocolate cookies and cream. Go check them out. You'll get 20% off your first order when you use a promo code locked on. So go right now to Built Bar, type in locked on for the promo code. You'll get 20% off your first box. And then when you get your box, you'll get another 20% off. So go check them out. You can't go wrong with Built Bar, best bar in the business.
Okay, so we do not endorse violence on the Locked On Astros podcast,
Hey
and
man, this is Texas, man. Sometimes you got a two-step and it doesn't mean a dance floor. I'm just saying. I mean, you gotta defend your honor and you gotta have some energy. Why not?
speaking of two-stepping, James Click was doing a little two-stepping or waltzing or something today, salsa dancing or something around the Springer and the Brantley. Um, I know Brantley is an option, but did he really make it seem like there's a chance that George Springer could return to Houston?
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you his quote, and then I'm going to tell you what I think about that. He said, "Well, Springer and Brantley and all the free agents that we lost are a huge part of this team. It's funny how he started it that we lost, and part of this franchise. We are engaged on a number of fronts, those guys included, and so we will continue to put our best foot forward there and see if we can keep the team together. But at the same time, we need to read and react to the market where those guys have earned the right to go out there and see what the market holds for them. And if ultimately it doesn't line up back here in Houston, like we hope it does, we'll be ready to bring in some players that can help us out." Translation, yeah, like Springer, he's pretty much gone. I mean, I'm sorry, Eric. I believe Brantley is much more of a solid option right now, a more realistic option. But I don't care if they put their best foot forward. I just don't think Springer comes back. I think there's too much money on the table that he's going to get offered. And it's being rumored right now from this guy Andy Martino from up in New York, that there's a deal around 5 years. What is it, like what I see, 150 million or something like that, for Springer, with like a 6-year option or something like that, or a buyout or something. So
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 they're still engaged in talks, right?
they're engaged. Yeah, they're like almost married. Yeah, they're engaged in talks, just like the Astros are engaged in talks, right? Who knows what's really going
Who
on?
gets the final rose?
Well, hey, if this is any consolation, Eric, I'll bring this up. Michael Berry, a radio host, local AM radio host, said this past week he lives in the same neighborhood that Brantley and Springer live in, and he said that Springer's house is for sale, but Brantley's house isn't. He's like, read into that what you want, but one of them's for sale and one of them's not. So one of them looks like they're out, one of them looks like they're in. So, hey, there you go. Maybe we need to get James Click on and see if he can answer that question for us. Why is
Yeah,
Brantley not selling his house?
pretty sure that if he's not going to answer that question in front of a bunch of reporters, he's not going to say, "You know what, Eric, I like you, and I think I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on here." So,
But you're Eric the Man Huysman. I mean, why
well,
wouldn't he?
all right. So, something that we've been kind of dancing around this offseason was, should the Astros add another starter? And James Click said, while that we have a few guys that we feel really good about, and we have certainly some guys we've added to the roster recently, aka Forrest Whitley and others, I think we can step in, who I think could step in if we need them. The prudent course of action is to make sure that's an area of depth, because the last thing you want is to wake up in a day or two and a couple guys hit some bumps in the road, and then you have to put some guys in a rotation before they're ready. So basically, what he's saying is they're going to go out there and look for some some back like six starter, seven starter type people, not necessarily. What's a good example? What's somebody we had recently? Not Charlie Morton like, but more like just kind of like people maybe Chris Art no Chris Archer is still a big name, but just somebody who could be that fifth starter just in case you need to or something. So that's
Yeah, I
what
don't
I'm
know.
reading into that. I'm like,
Yeah,
don't expect Trevor Bauer, but
no,
just
I don't
expect
want Trevor
maybe them
Bauer.
to add another veteran is what I'm trying to say. Levon Hernandez, somebody like that. That's the only name that could come to me.
He's still pitching.
No. That type of pitcher,
Oh,
just
it's like I was like,
or
what?
the Francisco Liriano type of pitcher,
You're like maybe
or
we
the
can go out
Mike
and get
Fiers type of
no.
pitcher.
Maybe we get Julio Franco because I think he's still playing baseball.
What is he
He's
like
like 80.
70?
He's like 80,000 years old. Like that dude played. I mean, that dude was a stud. That's all there is to it. But yeah, they're not going to go out and get a Bauer. They're not going to, they're obviously not going to get someone that's top tier. What's funny is Tanaka is out there. No one has been talking about that much. I don't know.
Noka to that one.
Well, I'm just saying, dude. I'm just saying he's out there. I mean,
He's out
if
there,
you,
but he also he can be really good sometimes. He can also be really hittable sometimes. He
but
does
if you
struggle
just
with
need a,
injuries a little bit, and
yeah, but if you just need a back end guy, why the heck not?
he's not a
You know
back
what I'm
end
saying?
guy. That's what
Well,
you
he
don't
may
understand.
have to be.
Well, not he's not okay. The Astros may say, "Oh, yeah, Tanaka, you are a back of the rotation guy," and he's like, "Okay, my mama's calling. I gotta go." Something.
He would be like double rods. No, I'm just looking through free agents that are out there, and I'm just trying to throw
Go
stuff out there.
lower.
Lower. Oh, okay. Well, you say that, set the bar low. I mean, what's the point?
I mean, the rotation is
I think the rotation is
mostly
fine.
set. They're looking for
Yeah,
somebody in case Christian Javier doesn't find his groove in spring training, because you know what Zach Greinke can give you, you know what Urquidy can give you, you know what McCullers can give you when healthy, and who's the other one? Who am I? Oh, Framber Valdez. You know what he can offer now. So I would think that Christian Javier is kind of still the question mark. I know the Zips kind of had him having kind of a bad year, but we'll have to see. But just adding that veteran. But my thing is, you're not going to go out there and get a big name starter when you need two outfielders. You want to save that money for those two outfielders, and you need a reliever. And James Click talked about that today. He said, while we think that Ryan Presley can definitely get the job done, it would be nice to have somebody that you can count on in those really tight, really high leverage situations. And I think Presley's has all the tools to do that. Beyond that, I think there's some guys in our bullpen that can grow into that role. But at the same time, there are some very talented relievers that are available in the free agency, and whether we stamp them as our closer or not, we're gonna do everything we can to shore up our options in those late innings, high leverage situations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We need a closer, not a belly itcher.
we need a pitcher, not a ability to. That's right. Kind of like Trevor Rosenthal. He would be someone decent to fit in that spot.
I still
Um,
think Brad Hand is the best option, but Archie Bradley would be another guy. He's a guy that could be a
yeah,
setup guy. He could be a closer too.
yeah, true. I was just looking through the names, who's out there, and I don't know. There's just some interesting names like Anibal Sanchez, guys like that aren't
Oh,
like,
that would be perfect.
you
That
know what I'm
would be a
saying. They aren't.
perfect fifth starter.
I mean, he's out there. I mean, he's not going for that much. His market values around 2 or 3 million. So I mean, it
I
wouldn't
could see the
be,
Astros doing that and bringing
you know,
somebody like that because he's had success recently, as recent as 2019. I don't know what he did last year. We'll have to look at this in another podcast.
I was just looking at it, and he was, I think he was like 4-4. Let me see.
Everybody was.
Well, okay, so his market value is at like 2.8, and This, I mean, he is 36, but he was actually 4-5 last year.
He's a
Um,
innings eater. He's somebody that's gonna come in there. You can know that you can throw 6, 7 innings. You can even, what do they call that? Piggyback the, like have him pitch 5 innings, then have Javier pitch 4 innings just to save his arm, so he doesn't.
and then in 2019 he was 11-3. I mean, he
Yeah,
was 11-8. So I mean, the guy's got the ability to pitch decently, and more than likely you wouldn't really. I don't know. I'm just saying. I have no idea if that's even on the radar. I'm sure someone who knows and understands all the
it,
details more than I do are
yeah.
probably like, "Oh, you're so off," whatever. But
From what I saw from this interview, this is Jeff Luno Jr. He's gonna be patient. He's gonna be he's gonna wait out the market. He's not gonna set the market. A lot of people are like the Mets are really, if they're really trying to go all in for George Springer, they're gonna set the market for outfielders.
yeah,
And it was funny. We talked about this after the show yesterday, but George Springer did not make the first or second team all MLB team yesterday, but Marcell Osuna did, but he's gonna get the less deal on his value on his contract just because Springer's the bigger name, that type of thing.
but okay. So do you think it's bad for Springer if Ozuna gets a contract before he does, or
No,
no, because
no, that would
Springer's
help
a
him.
different.
So
Okay,
let's say that he gets a 21 for, I don't know how old he is, Zuna off the top of my head, but if he gets a 5-year deal worth for 21 million a piece, then Springer's be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely better than Azuna. So you need to be giving me more money. I want my
because
26 or 27.
so this is what the Athletic is saying. They're saying the finalists for Springer are the Astros, Mets, Braves, and Giants. They believe the Mets will sign Springer to a 5-year, $110 million contract with a $15 million option or $5 million buyout. And so that's where they're predicting him to go. And I had heard 7 years, 200 million. I figured that was a little pricey. They'll definitely do a 5-year. If they did a 5-year deal, Eric, I wouldn't be shocked if they did 130 to 150 million. To be honest with you, now I think maybe the fact that he's 32 probably eats into that. Maybe if I still think if he became a free agent last year, he makes about 2 or 3 million more per year easily. Um, but yeah,
Did you
it
say
just
5 years, 150 is what they're saying?
no, well, no, 5 years, 110.
Who's saying that? The Athletic?
The Athletic, that's their prediction. They are predicting that.
That's 22. I'm pretty sure the Astros offered him 21 or 20 last for 5 years, and
I
he
know.
said that was. I'm sure he was insulted by the offer, so I don't think he's gonna sign for 22 million. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to have to be around 150. To be honest with
That'll
you.
be 30 million per
So
year.
well, oh, it would. Oh, yeah, you're right. That would be.
That's a lot of
Sorry,
money.
yeah,
That's why I was
you're the
just
math
figuring it.
teacher.
Then
My
then you
bad.
said 110. I'm like, well, that's too little. So we
So
need to
what?
find the porridge in the
So you
middle.
think like 120? You think what, like 120? You're getting about 25, 26.
It's gonna be have to be like 130 or something. Yeah, something
Okay.
around there. So we'll see. And the Astros can totally still do it. That yes, they'll be cash strapped for this year, and you're gonna have to have a Ronnie Dawson or Chaz McCormick in left field. Or I know that Click said it's too soon to see if Alvarez will be able to go in outfield yet because they haven't seen him actually run. They've seen video, but that'll all be determined during spring training. But what the Astros are going to do is they're going to try to put themselves the best product on the field next year to win another World Series because that's what they're going after. And every other, they don't want to be like the Giants. Every other year they get to the World Series, they want to go back to back World Series. Or I mean, even though they didn't go to World Series this year, never mind, take that back.
So
So
what did Click say about signing Correa today? Did you see that?
yes, and he said that there's been, or somebody asked him about trading Correa, and he said that is something that we've looked at. You don't really know everything that goes behind that, but the team is better with Carlos Correa playing shortstop. So look for the Astros. This is me talking, not Click. Look for the Astros to extend him because if they feel like he's that valuable, they're going to let Springer go. They're going to go ahead and lock up Correa.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so do you think if they lock up Correa that there's no chance they sign Brantley? Zero.
We'll have to talk about it next week, but
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of intriguing names that, well, Click didn't call them by names, but he said there was a whole lot of outfielders who were non-tendered contracts who they are really interested in. I think David Dahl is probably one of them. Uh, then
Adam
maybe
Duvall,
Adam, yeah, Eddie Rosario is a guy who's
Eddie Rosario,
interesting. As long as you're okay with having Miles Straw in center field, but Eddie
Tyler
Rosario, he's good.
Quinn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
Albert Almora, isn't he the guy that fouled the ball? Okay,
yeah. I
so
saw that. I was like, ooh, that's a guy that. Yeah, that was. I remember that like it was yesterday.
yeah, so uh, we already have some stuff we're gonna be talking about on the next Locked On Astros podcast, but James Click gave us a lot of clickbait tonight, and thank you for that. And we'll be talking about this a little bit more next week. And until then, have a great weekend. Go Astros. Be patient, Astros fans. The time will come, and we will talk to you next week.